What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the bench. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Before we get down to the harvesting of components and tearing down that receiver, I figured I'd do a couple updates with you guys. One thing is the JVC never made it downstairs. That's going to go ahead and stay here for now in my kind of main media center slash bench slash studio slash main listening area. Everything's kind of a mess right now. I'm kind of refiguring, my whole backdrop and stuff like that. Kind of changing the whole branding of the channel, if you haven't noticed. Very 80s themed. But, yeah. Well, first off, wanted to show you, I have the old PSS 270 out, the Yamaha. I will put a video up that I did on this. I got this at Goodwill, got it going. And, well, right now I got it hooked up to the JVC and playing it through the JBLs. First time, nailed it. It sounds pretty cool. I suck at piano or keyboard or whatever, but it's whatever, I try. It is pretty cool because, I could hook up a tape deck to that and play my cassettes.
Cassette tapes!
But for right now, we have the switch is connected to it, well, via the TV. But anyways, alright, so we're going to sneak around very carefully. Gotta be quiet. Man, he took one look at me and knew I was there. So if you know what type of bird that was, put it down in the comments. Speaking of birds, I'm going to tell you right now, KLH ain't what it used to be. But this is a receiver that we've been using downstairs for the main TV. And I believe it's a VFD, vacuum something, whatever type of display this is. It completely never worked, and wow, it even looks like there's some VU meters over there, or level indicators of some type, which I've never even seen lit up, even when the display was working. But yeah, this display is not working anymore, and honestly, this receiver sounds horrible. So I figured there's a couple of things out of it that I need. One thing that I especially need is this is a 1/4-inch headphone jack, which I'm going to use for a guitar amplifier project that I have coming up. I kind of like it because it's got the little gold ring around it, and it's one of those flush mounts, not with the, just for an example, this was a little radio that I made a guitar amplifier out of, and these usually, stick out, they protrude a little bit, the threaded side of this, and then there's a nut that goes on there. And I want to kind of grab this one because it's more of a flush design. Now, it does kind of have its own little board, and you can barely see it, but it even says headphone board. And that's kind of one of the cool things about harvesting and taking components out of, like a receiver or something like this. We'll go over some of the components that, are actually worth grabbing. One main thing I'm kind of really wanting is this transformer. Now, what's cool about this transformer, if you look down here, it says it has a -21 volt place. Now, that tells me that this is symmetrically powered, meaning that it has a center tap. So, if my calculations are right, this transformer should be able to do, after being rectified and everything and smoothed, about 42 volts up and down of potential difference. So that's a pretty chunky, pretty good transformer to have for, say, something like one of those, Chinese boards or any type of audio boards that you can get off of eBay or you can get off of Amazon, stuff like that. Now, a lot of those, you don't really have anything like say, for example, speaker terminals. These aren't the greatest, but if you were planning on making one of those little kits, stealing things like this out of old equipment is a pretty good idea. Also, RCA inputs. They're pretty easy to get to. As soon as I take everything apart, you'll get a better understanding. Other thing, if we go over, I noticed that these are pretty cool little heat sinks here, and there's actually two of them, which is kind of connected with this long piece of angled aluminum, and those are good things to have. I use heat sinks all the time. But amplifier applications, you know, like this, whether if you're doing an IC based, you know, one that needs a heat sink, or if you're doing something like this, which this is a, you know, proper Class AB push-pull. But another thing that you can get out of here are, you know, I know this stereo was working, so I know that the transistors are good. Could maybe pull those out and use those for a guitar amp or something like that. Another thing are, you know, it's a good source for caps. These load resistors are, it's another good place to get those. One main thing you do want to do is remove each board and actually get a solder remover, you know, a solder sucker. And because, you know, a lot of the leads, like on this and things like that, the leads aren't, you know, they're cut, so there's not a lot there. Got some nice chunky diodes, you know, assorted fuses, stuff like that. Even the wire is really nice to keep sometimes. The connectors, I mean, on the ends are kind of, you know, not really worth keeping, but the wires are good, especially if you can find like these little gray wires. Those are always shielded. Those are nice wires to keep. But yeah, I might actually steal these coils. A little secondary transformer down there. And then like that yellow box right there is a capacitor. And those are always nice to kind of keep around too. Alright, so there's everything except the chassis and the front plate. There's the front plate, garbage. So here's kind of the main thing that I really wanted. This is a big old, very, very nice center tap transformer. And I think I paid like $5 for the receiver, so that's definitely right there, worth it. The next thing that I wanted to get out of there was this right here, and as you see, I've kind of noticed a trend with everything, and these components aren't the greatest components. The receiver wasn't the greatest receiver, but the components aren't horrible, but they hang out with the horrible components. So, but basically everything is kind of seems to be like you see there. It says it says headphone board. It seems like these are all just different pieces you could buy from probably some type of manufacturer, and KLH, you know, all the other kind of crappier, smaller, not very high-end manufacturers, I think would then just buy, you know, these boards and then kind of piece all of their components together with them. This one, as you see, it even says main power supply board. But yeah, like I had mentioned, capacitors we can take off of there. You've got diodes. Another cool thing is that right there is actually a little 7805, which is a voltage regulator. So that's another thing you can get out of these things. I don't know if I'll really have any use for anything on there, because I have voltage regulators and all that. This is the main culprit of why this thing got taken to bits. It's kind of funny because there's so many things on here that aren't really even used. You can actually see some of the pins are cut off because, like I said before, obviously this is, you know, a board that's probably manufactured by a certain manufacturer, sold to other manufacturers, and therefore could be, you know, used for multiple applications. Like I don't think this thing really had Dolby Digital or DTS or any of that. Yeah, it would have been cool to see those VU meters light up, but yeah, that's fine. This thing, this is the reason why it went bad, like I said, and it's not even worth replacing. But yeah, under there you've got, that's the back side. I always thought they looked cool, the little circuit boards on there. But got your processor. This is a quartz oscillator. This is something that's kind of cool to hang on to or grab out of here, would be this IR diode. This is what picks up your remote signal. Don't want that potentiometer. Some stuff on there not really worried about. So this is the FM tuner. Really, I wouldn't want anything off of this except for maybe I would keep these connectors, but I'm not a big fan of these connectors anyways. One thing I would like to use though, and this is really cool, this is an already made out circuit for a tone and balance control. For I mean, you could use this for a guitar amp, you could use this for, you know, going back to the do-it-yourself audio radio stereo boards and things that you can put together. They actually sell, you know, a board pretty much same exact thing as this. So yeah, we're saving money right there. And it's even got a JRC 4558, which is it's pretty cool op amp to steal. A lot going on this board that we could use. Any one of these RCA jacks, pretty much just desolder them, and you got a good RCA jack. There's op amps, there's coils, like I said, speaker terminals, speaker relays. Then you got some nice 6800 microfarad capacitors. We could probably use those. And then, like I said before, you got a matching set of transistors that you can use for a guitar amp or, you know, any other type of amplifier like that. And it's got the cool angle iron, or well, angle aluminum. And I was happy to see that KLH actually put some heat sink compound between this aluminum, actual heat sinks themselves, which these are pretty cool. This is kind of like a work of art here. Yeah, these are a work of art. These are beautiful, beautiful pieces of aluminum. These come in handy for a lot of different things, and like I said, I actually do use them often, but if you're planning on doing a little amplifier build, you know, just this is another thing that is definitely worth it. Another thing, you know, if you're looking for certain components, it's sometimes not a bad idea to just go down to the thrift store and see if they have any old receivers, or see if anybody else has any, you know, old electronics they're throwing out. Just be very careful and make sure nothing is energized. Like I'd said at the beginning of the video, you can get very, very seriously hurt with the voltage, even in some of these things. And when you start getting into CRT TVs and stuff with tubes, I don't know about the tubes because it might not be energized, but that stuff works with a lot of voltage and a lot of current inherently. And like, I don't even really show messing around with CRTs, and that's for a reason, because it's just too dangerous. I definitely recommend to not even mess with it if, you know, you don't know what you're doing. But even if you know what you're doing, yeah, be careful. But yeah, and then for the last thing, we've got some feet. They're kind of losing their little inserts there, but don't really think I'd use them. But, you know, just more stuff that you can definitely salvage out of these old things. And last, I guess, but not least, man, the hardware. It's definitely good to hang on to, you know, hardware from things. You'll never know when you'll use it. Another thing, these little standoffs, these plastic ones are pretty cool. They come in pretty handy. But yeah, that's about it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I doubt anyone's made it this far, but if you did, congratulations. You are the winner, and you are the best. And you get to see this.